Hi, I'm Richard Olson. I'm a new Seventh-day Adventist member with the McMinnville Seventh-day Church. I live here in Little Lafayette, Oregon. My wife runs, or did run, a small hair shop here, which she was very successful at.
I had about 240 hair clients and very, very busy.
We just recently discovered the message. My wife got involved a lot sooner than I did because I'm just kind of a bullheaded old carpenter. Churches were for funerals and weddings as far as I was concerned. I didn't have any other use for them.
Hi, we're just getting started here at Narrow Path Outreach, and I'm getting this DVD ready for kids' time. They'll be piling in here in a few minutes. This big mirror, this area here is where my hair salon used to be. My husband built this place for a hair shop.
Not only was it a hair shop, it was kind of a Steel Magnolias thing. She was doing a lot of ministering and bringing people to the Lord when we were still Sunday worshipers, by the way. I
didn't grow up knowing the Lord at all. Matter of fact, it was just the opposite. I grew up in a home that was very violent and drugs, and I actually lost my mother at 14 due to drugs and alcohol, and lost my father. He was murdered. And so, you know, it wasn't the best upbringing, but the Lord has always been with me. I've always known there was God, and He's done some pretty awesome things.
After I decommissioned the hair shop, she went in and painted this whole place up and set it up. She's doing massive Bible studies every week and bringing people to the Lord.
Obviously, you can see that I have a little ministry with the books going. Everything in here is just strictly for donation. So we're completely relying on the Lord to supply all our needs, and He definitely has been. And over here in this area, you can see this used to be like my little office area, and now it's a little smoothie kitchen. How about a strawberry smoothie today? You want a smoothie? Or you just want to color for a bit? This is our youngest son, Jacob Becker. And he comes in here and helps out with the smoothies once in a while. And right now he's going to make Jesse James a strawberry smoothie. Tuesdays in the mornings we have children's program from 10 to 11:30. I have a program for the after-school kids.
There's a bus stop right down the road where the kids get off the bus. And you would never imagine, the kids come in for the smoothies, and all of a sudden you can hear a pin drop in there because she's got some sort of ministry going on the TV, something about Revelation or another subject, and these kids are hungry for it. And you would not believe the pile of teenagers standing around would actually be interested in something like that, and now she's ministering to them.
It's a great place for kids. If they don't have a place to go, they can come and hang out and watch a good Christian film, or we can just talk. So we have healthy fruit smoothies here. I have about 16 Bible studies going.
One of her clients, Carol Talon, who was a member of the McMinnville Church at the time, kind of got Lori's interest going on the Sabbath.
I just got back from a mission trip to India, and my hair was just a real mess. You know, I went clear over there, and I had to come back to Lafayette to get my hair done. So I was sitting in the chair, Laura Lee was doing my hair, and I had this pair of shoes on that I had bought in India while I was on that mission trip. That led to some questions about what I was doing in India, and I told her I was a medical missionary, and she also said, well, that means you study the Bible, right? And I said, yes. And she said, well, I've always been interested in Bible studies. Would you study the Bible with me? And I said, why, sure. I'd love to study the Bible with you. How about your family? Would they be interested too?
And so things kind of took off and grew from there.
And she said, well, look on the calendar. And so I looked on the calendar, and I had realized that the Sabbath was the seventh day of the week. And I realized for the first time in my life that I've never really heard the truth in the Bible, that, you know, most churches you go to kind of jump around a lot, and you don't really get the whole truth. And so we really enjoyed the Bible studies, but then we started thinking, you know, maybe this isn't the truth. Maybe Satan's just kind of leading us off this way.
She was being just completely attacked by Satan physically, where she could actually feel his hands on her.
Every time I would go to bed, something would jump on me and climb on me, and it was just horrible. I had no idea what was going on. It'd go away, but it'd always come back. And so I finally asked that the pastor would come out and anoint the house. And he came out with Robert, our pastor Lynn Bryson from McMinnville, Oregon, and Robert Claiborne. And they came out, and we kind of had a little Bible study, and he anointed us, and he said, is there something in the house that, is evil or something, that you've brought in music or something? I said, no. If anything, I said, our house is purer than it's ever been. And he said, well, is there anything that you need to let go of? Or I said, actually, I've been smoking for 35 years, and lately I've been really convicted on it. I've been praying about it. I've been trying to quit, and every night I pray about it. I say, Lord, I'm going to quit, and then the next day, the first thing I do is have a cigarette. And I said, so yeah, I've been really guilty over that. And he said, well, let's pray about it. And he said, do you have any cigarettes right now? And I said, actually, we only have one left. He's like, great. I said, well, it's not that, we're going to quit or anything. It's just we need to go to the store. And he said, well, what do you want to do with this cigarette right here? And I said, well, really, I want to smoke it. And he said, well, that's really good. He said, at least you're being honest. Which, I kind of realized for the first time that I really was being honest, because normally I would say, oh, I'm going to throw it away and quit smoking forever and make attempts, and things that I couldn't follow through with. And so I was honest. We prayed about it. He anointed us, and I didn't feel any different. But the next morning when I woke up, my husband Richard had the cigarettes there on the counter like he always did. And I walked over to the cigarettes, and I felt, because that's the first thing I would do when I'd wake up is have one. And as soon as I walked over, I felt the Lord clearly speaking to me, saying, Lori, if you just be obedient, I will help you. And I was like, all right, I'll see how long I can go. And I walked away, and honest to God, I've never had an urge to smoke ever again. And the Lord has completely delivered me from that. And I can truly say I know what it's like to be delivered.
We were getting involved with the church a little bit more and more all the time. And we got a Bible worker coming to the house we started studying with. And things in my house were changing left and right.
When he came home from work, I was really excited to tell him that, I'm finally done doing hair, because he's been trying to get me out of it for years, because he knows how hard it's been on me. It's a very demanding job. I was out here pretty much 7 days a week.
She basically said, hey, I've been working on the outside of them, making them look good. Now it's time to work on the inside of them and bring them to the Lord.
And I wanted to learn how to study the Bible myself.
And then she got connections through a friend of mine, Dan Buell, that worked for me out at the airport, and he was a Seventh-day Adventist. And we were banging big hours and on a job that had to get done. And Dan was my best guy, most talented with stainless steel, and he said, I don't work Saturdays. And I backed him up on it, all the way to the top. And, because if someone strongly believes in something, I don't think anything should stand in their way. His daughter, Bitsy, was running a small dog grooming business, and she was grooming our dog.
This is Sophie. This is our doggie of 7 years. I just wanted to know for sure that we were getting all the truth. So Bitsy was telling me, you can go to Mission College of Evangelism.
This is an application to Mission College. I think you should fill it out.
Oh, we can't afford that, Bitsy.
God can do anything.
I know, but
they have scholarships, Lori. At least if you apply, then the Lord, if He's not leading you there, can tell you no. But if you don't apply, He can't tell you whether or not He wants you to go.
I know, but what about the hair shop?
Well, it's okay. God will work all that out.
I decided to apply.
Our Bible study worker, Robert Claiborne, had already been through Mission College with his wife. So it was a credible place as far as we were concerned, and given the true word. And I came home from work one day, and she said, I'm done. And I said, good, let's go get some dinner. She said, no, I'm done. I said, okay, so what's that mean? She says, I'm done doing hair. And it was a pretty big surprise to me.
I said, honey, this is something I'd really like to do. I shared it with them, and
lo and behold, the next thing you know, Lori's going to Mission College.
He said, honey, I'm so proud of you. And he just came up and he picked me up and he gave me a big hug and he swung me around and he said, baby, I'm so proud of you for what you're doing. And I support you 100%. And I just started bawling. I just couldn't believe that he was so supportive.
We didn't have the money to do this. It was not in the budget. Just by losing her hair shop business, it put a pretty big pinch on us. But she believed, and the Lord took care of her, and they actually accepted her up there at the college, knowing that she didn't have any money. They put a vote to the class, and they all said she's in.
So I had about 4 days to contact all my hair clients and let them know that I wasn't really going to do hair anymore. And I had a schedule booked up for about 2 months.
Well, I never had my hair done by Lori, but we met at the McMinnville Seventh-day Adventist Church during the time of an evangelistic crusade.
It's just amazing how God works.
My husband and I had come from the East Coast and we arrived in McMinnville. And we were so excited about the church because we found it a church to be very evangelistic oriented.
This isn't something I wanted to do. I mean, I didn't want to open up a ministry. Matter of fact, when I went to Mission College of Evangelism, I had no idea that it was an evangelist college. I don't know what I didn't get about Mission College of Evangelism, but I just thought it was a Bible college and I was going to learn the Bible. And I found out about 2 weeks into it that they were training us to be an evangelist, and I really just kind of wanted to back out then and go home. I felt like a black sheep. I hadn't been baptized. I wasn't a member of the church. I felt really lost, and I just stuck with it because I knew that the Lord led me there, and there had to be a reason. And He showed me a lot of things when I was there. He spoke to me a lot. He helped me a lot. He helped me overcome a lot of things.
We noticed that Lori became more and more interested. Richard seemed to be more interested, but he was a little bit shy and kind of stayed in the background. We heard that he was a good contractor, and so we invited him to come and check out our property because we had some work to be done.
We needed to have landscaping done.
My husband contacted Richard. He did come, he looked at the property, but somehow he was so busy he never got back to us.
And I decided to go out on my own to get things done. In the process of speaking with other people and about to do it for myself, I decided to get in contact with Richard once again. I felt impressed to do so. After paging him, we went out in the parking lot and started praying about the decisions that need to be made for building the wall and the roads, etc., materials needed. At that point, we claimed God's promises that His will be done and that the project will go successfully. So we got in the store and we met a young man who, after we negotiated our pricing for the materials, etc., wanted to deliver our materials the following day, which would have been on the Sabbath, because we went to the store to make that decision on a Friday afternoon, one of my days off. And the young man said, "Oh, we can deliver this material on Saturday." And I said to him, we don't take deliveries on Saturday. And Richard joined, "It's our Sabbath." So Richard took ownership of the Sabbath, even though he had not yet been baptized. And the young man said, "What Sabbath? I have never heard about the word Sabbath." And so both Richard and myself began to explain to him what Sabbath observance was all about and promised to get back with him at the same time. Well, the young man said, "Okay, let me talk with my boss and see what we can do." I came home waiting to hear from this young man about what the final price was going to be. So I got called. The owner of the store decided to give us an 80% discount on the materials needed to build the wall, to do the work on the property. Richard, on hearing that and realizing that we had prayed about this,
Richard was excited, and he said,
"The blessings that the Lord has given you, I want that blessing." That evening, he prayed and asked the Lord to do something special for him.
this is how quickly the Lord can work.
About an hour later, the gentleman for whom Richard had done some work called him and said, "Listen, Richard, I just felt impressed
I'm going to send you a check.
for about $2,500.
I paid you a little less than I should have."
The amount of money that the fellow said he was going to send to him was exactly the amount of money he needed to clear his bills for that particular month.
This really encouraged Richard's faith, and he began to see that truly there is a God who answers prayer.
So that's how the Lord worked with Richard. Richard now, having been touched like that, decided that, maybe there's something interesting about this walk with the Lord. I need to sit back, think about this, and give my heart to the Lord.
That's pretty much what got me converted. And once we started going and really digging into the Word and realizing that there actually is a true Sabbath, which, me being in construction, you know, Saturday's my biggest day, always has been, and that was a hard jump for me. But then it just got to the point where if someone says, hey, I'll see you Saturday, I say, hey, no you won't. You'll see me Sunday. And they say, well, I got to go to church on Sunday. I said, well, I go to church on Saturday, so I guess I'll see you Monday. And I just start sticking with my guns, and it just gets easier and easier and easier. And once in a while, you even get someone that asks you why. And that's about the biggest open door you could ever get from someone. As soon as they ask you why, you can pour it all out to them.
I haven't had to go look for it. The Lord has led people to me. I've had hair clients that have started asking me questions, you know, what did you do in college and what did you learn? And I said, well, I learned how to do Bible studies, and one in particular is Stacy Anglin. I used to cut her hair, and she actually asked me if I would do Bible studies, and I said, sure, absolutely. And so we got a women's group going, meet on Wednesday night, and Stacy in particular, she's completely changed her life. She quit smoking, she quit drinking. You know, when you really give up things like that, you're really serving the Lord, because if you're not, you can only serve, you know, God or Satan. And when you're truly serving God, you're giving up those things that are, you know, dragging you down. Satan's pulling you down. And I've seen these changes in these women, and it's awesome. It just strengthens my faith. It just helps me in what I'm doing to know that this is where God wants me. This is where He's led me all along. You know, this hair salon business was just a stepping stool as far as what God had planned. We start going over the historical Bible studies, and what's been awesome is just, you know, when you pray for the Holy Spirit to help you and lead you and guide you, it's amazing what He's done, because none of these women were even attending church at all. Everything that we have been studying, I've been really kind of worried about, but the Holy Spirit just leads you through and works on their hearts, and it's exciting because all 4 of them want to be baptized, actually. They want to attend the church, and we went on this women's retreat and brought all the girls from the Bible study, and it was a very good spiritual weekend. That's when they all had decided that they wanted to be baptized, and so we're actually working on baptismal classes now, and it's really exciting to see how the Lord can take someone that knows absolutely nothing, and He's using me, and I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just saying, okay, Lord, here I am. Use me. And He is.
I was surfing the web one day, just trying to find some parts to bolt onto this thing, and I had the TV in my ear, and they had mentioned Hurricane Ike in Texas, and how it wasn't going so well. FEMA wasn't doing what they thought they should be doing, or what the public thought they should be doing. And I had the internet at my fingertips, so I didn't type in Hurricane Ike. All I did was type in Ike. And the first thing I got was this horrifying picture of a cemetery that had been inundated, and all the coffins had floated to the surface. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, like, my God, and nobody's doing anything about this, you know.
And he kept looking through Texas, and I was like, what in the world are you doing? He said, I'm going to Texas. I was like, what do you mean you're going to Texas? I'm going to Texas. And I was like, no, I don't think so.
And it wasn't 10 days later. I had my excavator loaded on the trailer behind my truck, and I was headed for Texas. No rhyme or reason. I just got the call, and my wife looked at me like I was crazy.
I really didn't think it was real at first. I didn't really believe him. Like, you can't just get up and go to Texas. What are you thinking? He's like, I've got the equipment, I've got the know-how, you know, I've got the heart. I need to go there and help. These people need help. And so I really couldn't say anything. I really couldn't, like, complain or tell him he couldn't do it. He supported me in my ministry, so I really felt like I needed to support him, and so I have completely supported him in his ministry.
And I wanted to be baptized before I left. And I was warned, right after you get baptized, Satan is just going to absolutely attack you. And I said, nah, I got the Lord on my side. I'm good to go. And boy, I'll tell you what, they weren't lying. He attacked me all the way down. I had nothing but breakdowns and just angst and trouble. It was a 3.5-day 4 trip, just hard pulling. I was pulling a lot of weight, and everything that could go wrong did go wrong, but you know, I persevered the storm. The Lord was in the passenger seat, and away we went. We didn't stop. And I stayed there for a couple of months, you know, trying to figure out my game plan and trying to help people.
You know, we're both at the stage now where we just really want to work for the Lord. We know that He'll bless us. And
I've been to 6 different churches in the immediate area, and I'll probably go to 60 more before I'm done. As it as it works out for me, I try every Sabbath, if I'm not doing something for a church, to go to a new church, just to see who's who and what's what, and some of them are just a little spot in the road. My first experience wasn't good because I pulled the address up off the internet and went there, and the church had been shut down because it got flooded. So the first Sabbath that I wanted to actually get involved, I couldn't.
If you're thinking that maybe you should be doing something and you're not, you know, just step out there in faith and trust God, and He will do it.
It was getting harder and harder and harder, almost to the break point of where I was ready to give up and come home.
He's been doing a lot of work to help people down there, clean up all the mess and help them get their lives back together again.
I went to a Baytown church, which is further up the coast, away from Galveston, and I told the pastor there that I was, you know, possibly looking for some shelter. Did anybody have a room to rent or whatnot? And this old boy, Bill Jones, stood up, and 81 years old, and he says, I have a 2-bedroom apartment. He said, I live in a Section 8 house or apartment. He says, it's not the greatest in the world, but I'll offer up that second room to you for nothing. And being in the position I was, I sure wasn't in any position to say no.
When you trust the Lord and you step out in faith, He'll use you. I mean, He's used me, He's using my husband, He's using my whole family.
You get a little less shy and a little bit better at it, I think, as you go along.
And if you can step out there and help one person, the Lord will bless you so much. He will.
While I was in Texas, I had the chance to witness to quite a few people. The fact that people knew I was a Christian when I was in Texas is what made them ask questions. And the Lord gave me the answers that they needed to hear to bring them a little closer, whether I brought them into the Seventh-day Adventist organization or at least just brought them to Christ. You know, the message was still given and received. One person in particular, a young man named Scott, was a day laborer. I used him on quite a few jobs, actually. Young man, single father. I used to keep the steps of Christ and my Bible on the dash of my truck all the time. And he kept asking questions and got more and more curious, and the Lord kept giving me the answers to give to him, because I'm not the most learned individual in the Bible, but I'm learning. So I got him kind of interested, and I ended up taking him to church. And it was a pretty cool situation, because I was a stranger to that church also, but it was a very friendly church called Gulf Haven, and it was my favorite church in Houston. They just invited him with open arms. He went with me twice, and then after I returned back to Oregon, he's carrying on. So I just talked to him again the other day. I got his number, he's got mine, so communication's key. But it was pretty awesome. If I got one, you know, like I say, his mother was interested too, so I probably got two. I ended up not finishing what I wanted to down there. I was hammering on some concrete on a job site, and we'd worked late that night till about 8:30, and we came in at 6:45 in the morning, and the thieves had hit us and pretty much stole every tool we had on the job site, and pretty extravagant amount of money. Pretty much put me out of business. After the anger had cleared, we decided that we needed to pray for the thieves and forgive them, you know, because Satan's in their brain, and you know, we can't dwell on it. It's not going to do anything for us. You know, we just needed to carry on. So that's basically what we did. We closed it with a prayer, and the next morning we loaded the trucks, and I dropped him in Phoenix, and I rolled on home to Oregon. You know, it was time to come home. My family needed me for sure. I've been gone for several months, and I needed my family, not just my immediate family. I needed my church family, and so it's good to be back. You know, everybody needs a place to call home. Now that I'm home, I don't know what he has in store. I'm sure he's going to restore everything that was broken and lost and needs to be fixed, because that's what he does. And we're not getting any further away from the goal. We're getting closer. So probably now's not the time to relax. Even in these hard times, you know, you still need to be out moving and shaking, and that's what we're doing. And, you know, it's an up and down hill. Sometimes things are hot, sometimes things are cold, and sometimes you can do something about it, sometimes you can't. And we don't know what he has in store for us, but whatever it is, we'll answer the call.
So I just want to encourage anybody out there, you know, you don't have to do something major. Just, you know, if the Lord's speaking to you, listen to your heart, listen to His voice, and do what He asks you to do, because He has a purpose for everyone, obviously.
Sometimes we don't know where we're going. When I went to Texas, I had no idea. Didn't even know what part of Texas I was going, but I was going. And it was a total leap of faith, and you overcome a lot of fears. You travel with a lot of fears, but you got to step out and do something, because the time's coming. And, you you have to lead. You know, people need to be led sometimes, and so we do the best we can to be an example for people, and we challenge anybody out there to do the same thing and help your church grow, help your families grow.
If we can do it, anybody can do it, trust me. We were far from this, very far from this,
Yeah.
you know. It was all about money before, and now it's about serving the Lord.